in the vast, ancient wilderness of the Great Smoky Mountains. Some things that get lost are never seen again. This is the story of the most baffling disappearance in the history of America's most visited national park. It's the story of a little boy who stepped behind a bush during a game of hide-and-seek and simply vanished. In the time it takes to laugh and cover your eyes, a 6-year-old boy disappeared in plain sight. One moment, he was there, the next, he was gone. Despite the largest search in the park's history, involving 1,400 people, Green Berets, and bloodhounds, no definitive trace of Dennis Martin, not even his bright red shirt, was ever recovered. This is a case where every lead just creates more questions, and the only answer is the silence from the mountains themselves. June 14, 1969, was a perfect Father's Day weekend for a camping trip. An annual tradition for the Martin family. William Martin, his father Clyde, and William's 2 sons, 9-year-old Douglas and 6-year-old Dennis, hiked the scenic trail to Spence Field, a beautiful highland meadow on the border of Tennessee and North Carolina. Dennis, just 6 days away from his 7th birthday, was a playful, energetic kid. He was wearing a bright red t-shirt, something his dad figured would make him easy to see. At Spence Field, the Martin boys met up with kids from another family, and they all decided to play a little prank on the grown-ups. The plan was simple. The boys would hide along the trail and jump out to surprise the adults. Dennis, with his brother and the other boys, darted into the bushes to hide. A moment later, the other boys leaped out, shouting with glee, but Dennis didn't emerge. His father William waited, scanning the rhododendron bushes for that flash of red. There was nothing. The game was over. Dennis was gone. A quiet afternoon turned into a nightmare in an instant. William Martin started calling for Dennis, his voice swallowed by the enormous landscape. He ran frantically down the trail, covering nearly 2 miles, certain his son couldn't have gone far. As hours passed and dusk began to settle, the family knew they needed help. They alerted the National Park Service, igniting an operation of unprecedented scale. The search for Dennis Martin became the largest in the history of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Over the next few weeks, more than 1,400 people scoured the unforgiving terrain. Park rangers, Boy Scouts, local volunteers, and firefighters all came to help. The Air National Guard sent helicopters, and even a specialized team of Green Berets from Fort Bragg was brought in. But the mountains seemed to work against them. That very first night, a torrential downpour dumped nearly 3 inches of rain, washing away tracks, scents, and any clue that might have led them to Dennis. Days of searching turned into weeks. Searchers walked shoulder to shoulder through 56 square miles of steep ravines and dense undergrowth. It was as if the forest had inhaled the boy, leaving nothing behind. As the official search hit one dead end after another, a few strange and disturbing clues emerged. A man named Harold Key, hiking with his family about 5 to 7 miles away from Spence Field on the day Dennis vanished, reported hearing a sudden, enormous, sickening scream that terrified his children. Shortly after, he saw a rough-looking man moving quickly through the trees. The Key family didn't connect the incident to the missing boy until they returned home and heard the news. The FBI documented the sighting, but park officials were skeptical. They doubted anyone could have covered the miles of brutal terrain separating the 2 locations, especially while carrying a child in the time that had passed. Another perplexing clue came from the search area itself. A set of child-sized footprints, one from a shoe and one barefoot, were found leading to a stream before disappearing. Dennis had been wearing Oxford-style shoes, but since Boy Scouts in the search party wore similar shoes, officials ultimately dismissed the prints. The leads went cold, becoming just 2 more frustrating puzzles in a sea of uncertainty. More than 50 years later, what happened to Dennis Martin is an open wound, a void filled only by theories that range from the tragic to the bizarre. The most straightforward explanation, held by park officials, is that Dennis simply got lost. He could have taken a wrong turn, fallen into one of the area's many steep ravines, and succumbed to the elements, with the heavy rain hastening hypothermia. But this theory is haunted by one glaring problem. Why was nothing ever found, even in the worst-case scenario? A search that massive should have turned up a piece of his bright red shirt, a shoe, something. An animal attack is another possibility. The Smokies are home to black bears, which are capable of harming a child. But wildlife experts at the time found this unlikely. An attack violent enough to carry a child away would have left behind evidence like drag marks, blood, or torn fabric. There was nothing. Then there's the abduction theory, bolstered by the Key family's chilling account. For many, including Dennis's father, this was the only theory that explained the complete lack of physical evidence. FBI files, released decades later, confirmed they investigated tips, including a potential jailhouse confession years later, though none of it led to a breakthrough. Finally, when logical explanations fail, stranger ideas begin to emerge from the folklore of the mountains. The presence of the Green Berets has fueled speculation for years. Some have even pointed to persistent Appalachian legends of feral people living deep within the park. These ideas speak to a deep human need to find an answer, any answer, for the unexplainable. The disappearance of Dennis Martin forever changed how search and rescue operations are handled in national parks, leading to more organized scientific methods that have saved countless lives. But the central mystery remains. What do you think happened on that summer day in 1969? Was it a tragic accident, an act of nature, or something far more sinister? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. The massive search for Dennis Martin was scaled back at the end of June 1969, though the case wasn't officially closed until that September. His parents passed away, never knowing what happened to their son. Over the years, strange tips have surfaced. In 1985, a ginseng hunter claimed he'd found a child's skeleton years earlier, but was afraid to report it. When he finally led investigators to the spot, there was nothing there. The file remains open but cold. The Great Smoky Mountains National Park holds its secrets close. Somewhere in its misty hollows and silent forests, the truth of what happened to a 6-year-old boy in a red shirt lies buried. Dennis Martin walked behind a bush to play a game and stepped into a mystery that has haunted a family and a nation for generations. A chilling reminder that sometimes people can simply vanish.